Black woman's journey. On this episode, I have two friends of mine, sisters, Antoinette and Jessie. Introduce yourselves.
I'm Antoinette.
What do you do?
I'm a licensed social worker, licensed master social worker. I work at the Arkansas State Hospital. It's a psychiatric hospital.
That's it. Introduce yourself, Jessie.
I'm Jessica Talley, and I'm the owner of Glow Queens Cleaning Services.
You better glow, queen.
So you need your house clean? Let me know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yes, I have two amazing women here today to speak about, two amazing mothers here today to speak about growing up with your child. I don't have children personally, but my mom, she had me and my brother when she was 16, 17 years old. And I know being that young, having children is an adjustment. You're constantly growing with your child. You're hitting different milestones in their lives and in your life. So it's goes through a lot of emotions, I can say. I know you will probably be upset because, whoa, I wasn't expecting this baby. Or, you could be happy at times, sad at times, stressed out. And I just want to talk about that and touch bases because I know it's a lot of people out here who've had children at a young age or, not necessarily even being 16, 17 years old, 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm 26 and I still feel like it's too much for me. Like I can't have a child right now. I'm not ready. So how old were you when you had your kid?
My daughter, I had her at 20 years old. I was a sophomore at Philander Smith College. And my son, I had at 27. And I still wasn't quite ready to have children. But he's a 3-year-old.
Mm-hmm. And I was 19 when I had my daughter. I only have one child. And I was in the Air Force at the time. I was only for like a year and a half at that point. And I had my daughter.
When you guys found out you were pregnant, was it something that you knew? Were you planning it? Just gotta be sure, some people plan it. Was it something like, oh, what the hell? I wasn't expecting this.
Let's just say for me, I was crazy in love, but not smart in love. We had unprotected sex, and it took that one time for me to.
It was at one time?
One time.
Oh my God.
For me to find out, for me to end up pregnant with my daughter. And that was a scare for me because, being able to go home as a sophomore and tell my mom, hey, I'm pregnant. She sent me off to college with every expectation of me succeeding and to, fulfill her. That's what it felt like for me. To fulfill her, it was hard. It's hard to me today.
What about you?
Definitely was not planned. Wasn't expected, but I feel like if you're having sex, it should always kind of be expected because that's kind of what happens when you have sex,
One or two things.
Right. But for me, I was on birth control, but was it taking it like I should have been?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely was surprised. And for me, when I told my parents, both of my parents were very supportive. I remember my dad and my stepmom asking me if I wanted them to adopt my daughter so that way I can, live my life and be a 19-year-old, 20-year-old girl. Obviously I chose not to.
Right.
And then my mom, when I had my daughter, she came and spent about 3 weeks with me from the time I was in the hospital until she felt like, okay, you got it. And she got it.
Mm-hmm.
Very sweet.
Similar situation. My mom basically adopted my daughter the first 3 years of her life so that I could finish college. And that was a blessing for me. Nevertheless, it was all the motivation I needed to go ahead and finish school as well.
Right.
I know I was fortunate to have that opportunity. Not many women do. And I was frowned upon by some. It was difficult for me as far as being a distance. I had her in Memphis, Tennessee, because I did move home to conceive, to have her, excuse me. I conceived her here though. But just that distance, a 2-hour difference, it was hard for me because, it was my newborn, my baby.
Right. Did you come back immediately?
I stayed at home for a year.
Okay.
After she was born.
But that's still I know how mothers be. Like my sister doesn't even want to be away from her child for a couple minutes. So I know.
She was coming home, I was either going home to her or she was coming here on breaks. So
Oh, that's
It was a
good.
big travel.
How did you make it work with you being, well, with us, you said you had your mom. How did you make it work working, being in the Air Force that's consuming? I'm sure you have to go on deployments and things like that. So how was that?
So for me, thankfully, her dad was also in the Air Force. He's still in the Air Force, actually. But at the time, he was stationed here in Little Rock still. And so whenever I went on my deployments, I'd gone on 3 deployments. My first deployment was when she was 10 months. And so he, kept her for the 4 months while I was gone. And then my subsequent deployments after that, it was tough because then he ended up getting orders and moving to Vegas, and here I was with my little baby by myself. My family, my mom's in New York, my dad's in Texas. So I had to make my own family, with very close friends that turned into family here that I can trust. And if I needed them, they were able to watch my daughter for me. But I'm super protective, so there was literally only 2 people that I would have watch her.
Right.
And if
and
they
then
weren't
me.
gonna watch her, then I just wasn't going anywhere, so yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And then me. I was a part of that. I became her nanny.
Yes.
Just to throw that out there.
Yes.
So was it talked about like postpartum when you guys gave birth? How did you deal with that? How did you deal with that? Like, did you go through it?
I most definitely went through it.
And you were young. Did you know you were going through it?
I had no idea if there was postpartum that I was dealing with. Of course, a breakup happened in the midst of that. And I know a lot of it reflected from my emotions, my hormones, everything that I was going through after giving birth and experiencing what I experienced having a child at that age.
Yeah.
I mean, but anyone can go through postpartum.
Right. I feel like it's like a little bit, it may hit a little harder being that young. I feel like in certain areas, like maybe if you have a child really at an older age, it can hit harder as well. So that's a little tough for me, and I'm afraid. But how did you guys? You grew up with your child, so you were 19, you were 20. How did you do that? Divide from having fun, trying to work and finish school. You guys were not finished with school when you had those kids. So how did you separate your time and put that focus in? And you don't have to tell me that it was hard. I know it was hard. So what kind of sacrifices did you guys have to make?
For me, it was prioritizing. I had to be realistic. So yeah, maybe I wanted to go out that weekend. And don't get me wrong, I still partied. I still had a social life in college. But let's talk about after college. For me, prioritizing weekends, fun weekends would be, hey, do I got a sitter lined up? Hey, do I have the finances to make this happen? I was on welfare myself personally for a while. And, just money management, all in all, was hard. It was definitely difficult. So just prioritizing it, making sure I had a home, a paid home
right.
for my children to lay their heads in. Keeping a job was always necessary. Not many people, and I see single mothers, they struggle with just simple things like transportation. And so I can only imagine, not having that support from my family, from my mother. And I come from a single mother background, so not having that support from my mom, I don't know where I would be at. And I can begin to not give props to the support system I've had, whether it was friends, whether it was church members, whether it was, my daughter's father. He was always active in her life. And so I'm just thankful for the support system that I have. That's the only way I think I would have made it.
Okay. What about you?
Pretty much the same, like you said, as far as prioritizing and having structure and having a schedule. Like, I'm a very structured and disciplined person, you know what I mean? So I had to make time for, work, and then I ended up getting out of the Air Force, and then I went to school full time, and then worked part-time on top of that, and then had my daughter, and all that. So it was, go to school on these days, go to work on these days, have this time to do my homework, and then on the weekends, have my daughter to swim practice, you came in, you helped me, take her to swim practice and things like that. But I also still made time, for my friends. There were a lot of times that I was like, nah, I can't do it this weekend.
Right.
you don't need to be pussycat. But and also with my daughter, make sure I had that one-on-one time with her as well too. On the weekends we go to something fun, go to the movies. That was kind of our thing, mommy-daughter dates, things like that. So, and also, also what you said as far as the support system, with my parents and my mom, like with my mom being in New York, hey mom, I have to do this. Can you come? And she was on the next flight here.
Oh, that's awesome.
And even now, with COVID, my daughter has actually been with my mom for the past year since COVID hit because unfortunately, I'm an essential worker. I've had to go to work every single day. I was not able to telework or do anything like that. And, schools were doing virtual learning and didn't feel comfortable leaving my daughter home.
Right. All day.
Every day and trust her to get her schoolwork done. So called my mom and was like, hey, they're switching to virtual learning. I still have to go to work. Can you come get her? Can she come stay with you for a while? Literally, in 2 days, she was here and they were flying back to New York.
True story.
So I just don't know what I would do without my mom and my dad, so.
That's amazing. I love that because a lot of women don't have that support system. A lot of their families can't do it because they have kids that they still have to take care of. But what I wanted to touch bases on and really dig deep into is parenting styles. And we grew up a different way. And if you had even older parents, it could be a totally different way. So how do you, if it was a different way from style from when you grew up, how do you change that to make it more productive? Try to make sure that your child doesn't go through the same trauma that you may have went through. What do you guys do different? Let your mind tingle on that part.
So, where do I begin?
Yeah.
For me, first off, having children in this time and age is totally different. I can attest to my mother being a single mother, working all the time, and she wasn't physically always there. I always either had a babysitter or my sister when she wasn't either in college or away. And my childhood is kind of a blur in that area too. But when I think about just like the style that I wanted for my own kids, and don't get me wrong, I don't know about y'all, but I'm still learning every day.
Growing with your child.
Growing with my babies. Like keeping them safe has always been my biggest focus, my biggest aim. Meaning being mindful of the people that they're around, being mindful of the things that they're consuming, watching, and all in all, just making sure they're getting what they need from things that they're putting into their body to fuel them all the way down to just the education. I don't pride myself on like the academic standpoint, but I have always been blessed to have them in good schooling. My son and I even worked at his school that he currently goes to, our house, and it has been a blessing to be able to be in that atmosphere and know how they're teaching my child, knowing what's offered to them, and again, being able to say, I know my child's in safe hands. Having this structure, and I know my mom felt the same. She was, she aimed to give us the best that she could do, and that's always been my goal.
Right.
Just to give my children the best.
So do you feel like you model after your mom's parenting style?
Sort of. Yeah. I feel like you get freer and freer the more generation, because my mom would allow us to speak our mind and voice our opinions on things as her mom probably didn't. And then here I am. I encourage my children, my daughter anyway, to talk to me. Tell me how you feel. Let me be of a sound ear to you. I don't try to dictate and tell her exactly everything that she needs to do, but I'm not gonna let her run wild either. And again, I think that has this happy medium.
What about you?
Pretty much literally every exact thing that she said. Just strive to be the best mom that I can be to her and make sure that she's having everything that she can possibly have. The best of everything, ensuring that she's safe, making sure that she's in a great school. And I'm very hands-on with her, So, and the communication is open between us, she knows to talk to me about anything and everything, And also I kind of feel like there's a benefit of me being a young mom.
It
her
is.
because I relate to her in a lot of things.
Right.
I'm still up on current events, what's going on, the music, what's in the media, so we can also relate and have conversations about that. Whereas, with my mom, my mom had me at 23, but the generation was different back then.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have a lot of fun.
Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. Okay, you had your children young. So with that, you may have went through different type of life events, relationships, bad breakups and things like that. So going through a bad breakup, how do you handle that? Still grieve how you're supposed to grieve, still, release those emotions, but also take care of your child. How did that ever work for you guys?
Inhale, exhale. For me, I would say my most recent situation with my son's father, we lived with him. So having my child in a home with a man, and don't get me wrong, they had a great relationship, but she's seen how I began to be treated once things went left. And that was the darkest time in my life, but necessary. And I think that, again, me having that open relationship with my daughter allowed me to talk to her about what was going on in my life. I strongly think in her future she'll understand what mommy was feeling, why she, went through what she was going through. And I know for a fact she sees the benefit from us going through what we went through. Needless to say, my life then and the woman I was then and who I am now is totally different. Like a 360, completely different. And I say that to say, it wasn't a physical abuse. It was more, a lot of it was verbal, that was going on in the home. And when we would have those altercations, and if it got too bad, I would remove myself completely, remove me and my kids out of the home completely. And I think we experienced it one time when she went to her father's house, and I had to go to a whole other location as well. And I never told her that everything's okay. I made sure, to explain to her, this is what's happening, and this is what mommy, this is not okay. This is what mommy wants to do now. And I cried in front of my daughter. And what I mean by cry, like the ugly cry, like, yeah, this is what's going on. Mommy trying to figure this out. And she understood it to the point of, okay, let me just be there and love mommy. Let me just be a helping hand, because she stepped in for me a lot with her brother, and with caring for him and stuff. So it's just having that open relationship, I think, benefited us been going through that tough time. Needless to say, I aim now to never bring a man around her that I'm not for certain, or around them, excuse me, that I'm not for certain it's going to be in their life for a long time. And it's not pretty, because I know that's a stamp in her life. That's something she's going to always remember or experience, but I have to accept it, that's a part of the journey. That's a part of what woman she's gonna, become to be. And all I can aim to do is be the best example from it. And that's what I'm at right now.
Hold on real quick. We can go get it if somebody's at the door. Yeah. It's raining. I know you tried to hold that in, girl. No, for real.
Right.
Okay. It's her turn to answer the question, right? Yeah. Answer that question. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So for me, with navigating the relationships with my daughter, so I actually just went through a divorce. About to be almost a year. Since we finalized. And we were married for 6 years, but he's not her dad. And there wasn't any abuse or anything going on, but he did cheat on me, and so that was that. And so you know, obviously there were a lot of emotions with that, and just was not happy. And children can feel when something is wrong. They can feel the negative emotions, you know. And so for me, obviously choosing to divorce him was, one, because he cheated, and that's a non-negotiable for me. But two, also because I do have a daughter, and I do have somebody who's looking up to me, and I want to set the example for her that you do not have to settle for anything. Okay, I want to set the example that if somebody's treating you wrong, if you don't want to be in the situation anymore, you always have an option. You can leave. You know, if you're not happy, you can leave. You know, and so she was a huge driving force behind that. And after it was all said and done, you know, I actually sat down with her and I had a conversation about all of that. And she said she understood. You know,
Kids so
and
smart.
I feel like we don't give kids enough credit. They are so smart. You know, so that's pretty much my life.
So with you saying that, you know, you cried in front of your daughter, you spoke to her about it. I think that's really important when you're going through things, whether someone has passed away, you're going through a breakup, or you're just going through a really rough time, and you don't shield that from your children. I was actually watching a movie called The Women. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It came out in like 2008. Jada Pinkett and a few other people. It's a remake from a 1930 movie. Woman was cheated on by her husband, and she kind of dealt with it, but she really didn't deal with it. And she had her daughter was a teenager going through puberty and a lot of different things. And she kind of, every time her daughter knew something was wrong, knew her dad cheated on her mom, knew, of course, they're not staying in the same house. Her mom was like, it's okay. Everything's okay. And it was at a point where her daughter broke down and was just like, everything's not okay. I need you to stop telling me that things are okay when I know it's not. It's messing with me. And now, you know, the mom understood it, of course, when she was spoken to. But I think it's very, very important that you always speak not only life into your children, real life situations like this can happen. Of course, you want to make you discretionate for their age, but telling them that this is the real, I feel like it'll help them in the long haul. They'll know how to handle certain situations. It was a lot of times where I didn't know what was going on, and I wish I did. Just get a little candid. I thought, I grew up with my mom. My mom raised me up until I was like 10, and then I moved with my dad when I was like 10, 11. And he raised me up until I graduated high school. And the weekend that I went with my dad, I thought I was just going with him for a weekend, y'all. I never went back to my mom's house. It was like, never went back. Like, of course, I seen her, and I was there weekends, holidays, and things like that. But I never moved back, and it was just so weird to me. It messed me up. And I didn't realize how bad it messed me up or how it formed certain relationships that I had with friends and men in my life until I started, until a year ago, until I started really thinking about things like, well, who the hell? Why did y'all just put it in my head that I'm going somewhere for a weekend and I never left? And it messed with me when I was a kid, but I never was somebody to really talk about it. And of course I didn't know. I was just like, well, I want to go back to my mom's. This is not, if I would have known it was permanent, I probably would have put it in my mental. I would have prepared myself. So I think it's really important that you should open up to your kids. Speaking from the child's perspective, I think it's really important that you should talk to your kids about certain things and don't shield them as much, because you're not hurting them. In the end, you're hurting them.
My question for y'all is, what piece of advice would you give moms out here, maybe new moms, that are just really out here just trying to figure it out, and they, from the outside looking in, everybody else, what they post looks so like their house is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
However, they don't see, what happens behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So they might think that their house is in shambles, and they're not doing it right. They're not good enough as a parent. I don't have a kid, but I have many friends who are parents, and I just feel like there's just so many lessons that y'all have and advice to give, because you guys, like y'all said, are still learning every day along the way. But what major advice would you give to a woman who's just like, I can't figure this out. I don't think I'm a good mom?
Well, for starters, that woman that's looking in on somebody else's story, understand that the grass is not greener on the other side. I can attest to, I will post the best parts of my life because I want to look back at it and think, oh yes, that was. But also understanding that probably behind that photo shoot with my kids and it looking perfect was my son having a temper tantrum, my daughter with the worst attitude because I wouldn't let her download TikTok, whatever. Just understand that it's not all that peachy keen, and I say that to say too, with new moms and just wanting to navigate that. Take it a day at a time. I pray hard, and understanding that it's not strength coming from anywhere else other than within, and believing, and you get those natural instincts when you consume a child, when you're pregnant with them, when they're growing inside of you, that nurturing factor comes about, and when they're here on this earth, it comes instant.
I'm glad you said that because I don't feel like I have it.
It comes.
What I do?
We all have it in natural abilities. This will make us super heroes.
And I was gonna say, but to add, mom guilt is real, super real, but also have grace with yourself and know that you're doing the best that you can for your child. Know that nobody's going to love your child more than you do. Also, like you said, take things one day at a time. Tomorrow is always a new day to start over, get things right, and know that your child loves you unconditionally, regardless of how you may feel that you are to your child. Your child is looking up to you as probably being the best person in the world, regardless, so.
Yeah.
It's true.
Because I might have something to say about my mama, but can't nobody say nothing about my mama.
Exactly.
What's up, girl?
Okay, so this to both y'all, either one of y'all can. So I have a friend, she's a new parent. And how do you as a friend, I can tell she's having signs of either anxiety, postpartum anxiety or depression. I don't want to give either one, but she's definitely feeling something and I can feel it. But how do I take it to her in a respectable way? Because that's offensive for you to come to somebody and say, I see you, that. So I have been very quiet and just been there physically, but mentally I can tell she's not grasping it.
You are doing it right now. The best thing that you can do as a friend, from a friend standpoint, and I definitely dealt with that as well. My best of the bestest friends went through postpartum, and when I tell you I seen the whole, I exited our friendship. Like I broke up with her for about 30 minutes. I thought about it, called her back.
Girl, I just laughed.
Listen, and I think her seeing that tough love, like hearing my opinion, because I eventually gave it to her, but she still had to go through it herself. She seeked counseling, and that helped her. I think the threatening part for it was when she knew she probably had to take medication for it. Now, not against any drugs or anything, but I personally know that she didn't want to do that. And so that caused her to change her lifestyle. And she eventually came through. And like now I see her handling her child. And to me, she's the best mom because she gave me advice. She helped me with my son. When I see her handling him and I see how she's more patient with herself, giving herself that grace that she referred to, it's necessary. But you as a friend, all you can do is be there. Show her that she still has support. Once she's gonna hit that bottom ground level and rise back up. And as long as she knows she still has the support with her, she's gonna make it. She's gonna flourish.
Great advice. Great advice. To piggyback off that, I also had a friend. Well, she's still my friend. A really good friend who has gone through postpartum depression as well. She has 3 kids. And to me, she's an amazing mom. To have 3 kids, just that in itself, and to hold it down and be married, like
Superwoman.
Superwoman, But for me, it was just. But she and I also have that relationship where we keep it real with each other, And so it just took me asking, "Are you okay?" I kind of noticed you look a little down, you look a little sad. Is everything okay? And she just
Let it all out.
Let it all out, And me, obviously, I'm a strong advocate for therapy as well. And so I'm like, girl, you may need to go to You know, you may need to go talk to a therapist. And she did. And she did end up having to take medication. But she is so happy, you know, from taking that. So I think it's just having that honest conversation, like she said, and just saying, hey, I've noticed that this is a little different. Are you okay? And she might just open up and just say what it is, you know. But also, like she said, just be there for her too. You know?
That's it. Anybody have any comments? Any mothers out there that want to speak?
I'll say that I commend you guys because I too was a young mother. I have 3 children. I had them when I was 19, 23, and 27. And you ladies, hats off to you, the bomb, because see, I fumbled through mine. I did a whole kind of learn as you go deal. I dropped the ball a whole bunch of times. I messed up a whole bunch of times. At 19, I kept clubbing. I kept feeling like, well, I can still have my life and be a mom too, and do it at the same level. And found out the hard way that I couldn't. And my children had to suffer because I didn't decide to be a mom after I had children.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say hats off, and definitely the advice on give yourself some grace. Moms mess up. That is my motto with my children. Right, that is my motto with my children, because growing up, my mom never messed up.
Right.
My mom never, you know what I'm saying? It looked like she did this thing so perfect. Her and my dad were married and they were all in the church and everything was so perfect. Everything was perfect. And so then when it wasn't perfect for me, I thought I was a failure as a mom. But I talk to my children now about everything. And I apologize to my children.
Yeah.
I let them know that moms mess up. And it's okay for you to say something to me respectfully.
Yeah.
If I mess up.
Yeah.
So hats off to you.
Thank you.
Give yourself a round of applause.
Happy early Mother's Day.
Oh yes, happy Mother's Day. All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of the TT Show, Growing Up With Your Child. I actually don't know if that's going to be the title, but whatever. Just want you parents out there, you mothers out there, young mothers, old mothers, new mothers, whatever you call yourselves, you're not alone. Like they said, mistakes may be made. You're not perfect. Those children, them babies, still love you. It's okay. That's it for this episode of the TT Show, giving you a taste of the Black woman's journey.